Hello and welcome back, future scientists. I'm Mr. K with Mississippi Public Broadcasting, and we're going to continue our breakdown of the science portion of the ACT. We've already looked at 3 passages. Today we're going to look at passage 4. We're going to break it down, see if we can find the right answer, see if we can justify it, and take a second and talk about why we got it wrong when we took this practice test a couple lessons ago. So today, here's what we're going to do. I'd like you're going to work today with a partner. And again, y'all are going to justify the correct answer, explain why the other answers are not correct, and explain why you may have gotten the question wrong. You've already seen me do this 2 or 3 times. So make sure as you're walking through this, it can look just like how I am. You already know what the correct answer is, so your job today is to try to justify it. And it can look exactly how I've been doing it up here on the board. So y'all find a partner, go ahead and take 15, 20 minutes, however long it takes. Then when you're ready, come back to me and I'll walk through passage 4 with y'all. All right, y'all, thank you so much. Hopefully that is going to help y'all down the line. Now that you know how to find the correct answer, why you got it wrong, if it's just a time management thing, then your goal is to try to save yourself some time and get a little bit quicker. So I'm going to try to help you figure those things out as we go over this 4th passage today. So let's go ahead and hop into it. Here is question 21. It says, according to the results of experiment 1, for any given catalyst, as the temperature was increased, the number of cycles needed to complete the reaction. The correct answer here is A, increased only. This question assesses your ability to interpret a graph. In experiment 1, figure 1 shows that as temperature in Celsius rises from 300 to 500 degrees Celsius, the number of cycles for all 4 catalysts increases. Since the number of cycles consistently increases with temperature, the correct interpretation is that the number of cycles increased only. Therefore, the correct answer is A, increased only. So let me go ahead and tell y'all, if you get a graph that has this strong of a trend where all the lines are going up, you're probably going to get a question about the relationship here, okay? If a graph looks like this, it's a direct correlation. What that means is as one variable on the y-axis increases, the other variable on the x-axis is also going to increase. So all 4 of these lines here have a direct correlation. They all go up, okay? If the lines go down in the opposite way from left to right, that's called an inverse relationship. And that means that as one variable increases, the other variable is going to decrease. So what you want to do, anytime you see a graph like this, very quickly try to find those relationships. Try to find that trend or that pattern, because the odds are you're going to get a question about it. If you go ahead and try to find that trend, it's going to save you time down the road. All right, here's the next one. 22 says, in experiment 1, 26 cycles were needed to complete the reaction at 450 degrees Celsius when which catalyst was used? The correct answer here is G, catalyst X. This question assesses your ability to read and analyze a graph. In experiment 1, the curve with triangles represents catalyst X. At 450 degrees Celsius, this curve shows 26 cycles. Therefore, the correct answer is catalyst X. Again, this one is mostly just finding the information in the graph. It's telling you everything you need to look for. You're looking for 26 cycles, and you're looking at 450 degrees Celsius. It's your job to figure out which catalyst that is. Well, right here on the figure 1, the x-axis at the bottom says temperature. I can see that 450 degrees Celsius is one of the values for it. So all I have to do is go up this graph until I get to 26. There's only one of these lines at 26 at 450 degrees Celsius, and that is catalyst X. So that's our answer. So again, if you get a question like this where it's asking you to go find information and it's telling you most of the stuff you need to know, it's not a trick question. Don't waste a lot of time trying to figure out if there's something that you're missing. If you feel like you know it, trust your instinct. Go ahead and mark that answer and move on. That's going to save you time and give yourself more time to have to work on the harder questions down the line, okay? All right, here's the next question. 23 says, the movement of H2 and N2 through the apparatus as steps 1 through 4 occurred is best represented by which of the following expressions? So what's going on here is that there are a couple of steps and we're having to put them in the order that they happened in. Okay, the correct answer here is C, reactor to pipe A to condenser to pipe B. This question tests your ability to outline the steps in an experimental procedure. Step 1 is H2 and N2 are introduced into the reactor. Step 3 says NH3 along with the unreacted H2 and N2 flows through pipe A and into the condenser. And then step 4 over there on the left says any remaining unreacted H2 and N2 are directed into pipe B. Hence the correct order is reactor to pipe A to condenser to pipe B. So this one is really a reading comprehension question. It is telling you where to look for these. When I see things like reactor, condenser, pipe A, pipe B, that's directing my attention over here to the diagram because I see all of those parts of the experiment here. And then down here it tells us step 1 through 4 occurred. And it gives me a breakdown of how these happened in order. So it's really just a reading comprehension question and you have to go through and pick the correct order of them. If you read carefully, you can see that C is the correct answer. All right, here's the next question. 24 says, consider the results of experiment 1 for 375 degrees Celsius. All the H2 and N2 were consumed in less than 20 cycles when which catalysts were used? Our answer choice here is J, catalysts X, Y, and Z only. This question tests your ability to analyze a graph. At 375 degrees Celsius, catalyst W required 22 cycles, while the catalyst X, Y, and Z needed fewer than 15. Therefore, the correct answer is catalyst X, Y, and Z only. Okay, so what's going on here is it's telling us the temperature, 375 degrees, and it wants to know which of these needed fewer than 20 cycles. Well, on my figure 1, I can see that on the x-axis it's talking about temperature. I can find 375, it's right in between 350 and 400. Then I just look at all of the values for the different catalysts there. I can see that 3 are below 20 cycles and only 1, which is catalyst W, is above 20 cycles. That means that catalyst X, Y, and Z needed fewer than 20 cycles, and that means that J is our correct answer. Great job, y'all. Here is question 25. This says, if a trial had been performed in experiment 2 at 425 degrees Celsius and 225 atmospheric pressure, the amount of NH3 produced would most likely have been. The correct answer here is between 230 and 320. This question tests your ability to interpret a graph. To determine the amount of NH3 produced at 425 degrees Celsius and 225 atmospheric pressure, you needed to compare the star curve and the shaded square curve. At 225, the NH3 produced at 450 degrees Celsius is around 230, while at 400 degrees Celsius, the amount of NH3 produced is approximately 320. Hence, the correct answer is between 330 and 320. So again here, what's going on is you just have to pick the best answer. We don't know for sure what the answer is based off of the graph here. So some of these the science section is a little bit different than the math section of the ACT, where you're just picking the best answer. It doesn't mean that it's 100% the correct one. You can see that this is a pretty large range. It's between 300 and 320. So that's, you know, that's a pretty big window here. But how did we get this answer? That's what this is really testing you about. You can use this graph over here to kind of figure it out. This 425 degrees Celsius is not in the key anywhere, but we are testing 400 degrees Celsius and 450. So what you should be able to do is suppose a line is in between these two that are circled. If you put a line between the shaded square and the star that follow that trend, you'd be able to answer this question correctly. because 425 is between 400 and 450. Great work. All right, I got a couple more, so hang in there with me. Here's question 26. It says, at 1 atmosphere of pressure, the melting point of NH3 is minus 77 degrees Celsius, and the boiling point of NH3 is negative 33 degrees Celsius. Based on this information and the description of the apparatus, when NH3 exited the condenser, was it more likely a solid or a liquid? The correct answer here is J. It is most likely a liquid because the temperature of the condenser was between the melting point of NH3 and the boiling point of NH3. This question assesses your understanding of the experimental process. Step 3 indicates that the mixture of NH3, unreacted H2, and N2 passed through a condenser at minus 50 degrees Celsius and the atmosphere was just 1. The temperature of negative 50 degrees Celsius is higher than the melting point but lower than its boiling point. Therefore, NH3 would exit in a liquid state. The correct answer is liquid because the temperature of the condenser was between the melting of NH3 and the boiling point of NH3. So there's a lot of information here that we're kind of trying to juggle. First of all, it tells us what the boiling point and the melting point for this NH3 is. That's the type of information. They're not expecting you to know this, okay? Only a scientist that is well versed in this experiment would probably know this. So it's giving us the values. It says the melting point is, the boiling point is, and then it's asking us at this very specific part of the experiment, was it more of a liquid or a solid? Well, if you go over here and read very carefully, number 3, it tells us what the temperature is. It says minus 50. Well, minus 50 is in between the melting and the boiling point, and that means that this is most likely going to be a liquid. Okay? Again, this is some outside information that you're going to need to know. It does not tell you that a liquid would be in between the melting and the boiling point, but that's something that we should just know at this point. Okay? Great work. I got one more question that goes along with this passage. Here's 27. It says, consider the trial and experiment 2 that produced 550 of NH3 produced on figure 1. The number of cycles that were needed to complete the reaction in this trial was most likely. The correct answer here is A, less than 5. This question tests your ability to combine information from 2 graphs. Based on figure 2, the trial that produced 550 of NH3 was conducted at 300 degrees Celsius and 150 atmosphere pressure. From figure 1, we observed that trial Z at 300 degrees Celsius required fewer than 5 cycles. Thus, the correct answer is A, less than 5. Okay? So again, we're having to kind of we're using 2 figures here to find this information. It's telling us that it wants to know in experiment 2 what produced that 550. Well, I can come over here and find that information by using these 2 figures. Okay? So y'all, thank you so much for following along with me today. Your teacher has some other work for you to practice on, so make sure to give that your best effort, and I hope everybody has a great day.